Good. Good. Well, today's the day. Basically today we're going to be running through the very, very bare bones of wedding planning. How long is it that you've got now? Let me just get my calendar out. Let's see. So we're looking at, what was it, the 22nd of June, 2026. So we've still got, okay, so if it's the 22nd of June, we're looking at a year and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've got 1 year, 6 weeks. Let me just write it down. I've got a brand new notebook just for you. I know that you said that you were a Harry Potter fan, so I grabbed one of these notebooks that are supposed to look like the Harry Potter books. This one is Defense, I guess the Dark Arts, so Dark Arts Defense Basics for Beginners. Just thought it was a nice idea. Every single client gets a notebook of their own that's tailored to them, personalised to them, so that we can keep track of literally all of our ideas. And we just sort of like brain-dump all of the ideas that you might have in this notebook. Okay, I don't actually like using the first page because it's sort of stuck together, so let's just like this spine. Okay, so we've got the 22nd of June 2026. So what is that year wise? Oh, do I have to swipe through? June 22nd, a Monday. Was it a bank holiday? You just decided a Monday because it's cheaper. I don't blame you, you know. I'm noticing quite frequently actually with all of the couples that I'm booking, most popular days now are Mondays and Fridays. Obviously during the summer you'll get a lot more weekend bookings because it tends to be people that are very sort of like, you know, 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, can't get the time off. A lot of their guests are, you know, sort of corporate businessy types. You'll find a lot of teachers as well, I've noticed, get married on the weekend because they can't get the time off. Okay, well, Monday 22nd of June 2026. The reason we booked this appointment today is because you have solidified your venue. Let me get your venue up. So did you go and have a look at a lot of different venues before you chose this? 6. Okay, that's about average. So what made you choose Crew Hall? It's just so grand, isn't it? Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Honestly stunning. It gives very Bridgerton vibes. Okay, amazing. So we're going to go through budget today and then, like I said, spitballing some ideas just so that we've got sort of a basis to go off, and I've got an idea of what you're looking for budget wise, so I can start getting recommendations for photographers and event stylists, etc, depending on your budget. Just because I don't want to come to you with, you know, a photographer that costs, you know, £5,000 when your budget is £2,000, because it's not fair on you. It's, you know, it makes things awkward and you don't want that. So with your booking of your venue, did they give you a price breakdown? Okay, so it's £5,000 for the venue itself. Okay, and that's just for the venue hire. Fab. And then 3,800 for food, wedding breakfast. And how many guests was that for? 65 guests. Okay, did they give you an additional charge information for if you wanted to add extra guests? Okay. Right, so we're looking at £95 per head. Additional guests. Okay, do you have quite a solid guest list already set up, or is that sort of like a ballpark and it may change? You are quite sure of 65. Okay, so the additional heads is just like a safety blanket. Okay, that's fine. So we're looking at £8,800 then for your venue so far. And is that just the wedding breakfast, or is that including canapes? That's just for the breakfast. Okay. Was canapes something you might be interested in? So the venue itself, I know that this one, they don't allow external catering, so it has to be internal catering. So if you do want canapes, it has to be on their budget. Well, just to let you know, they usually do £20 per head with canapes. I won't include it within your budget at the moment, but it's £20 per head of canapes, so that would be 650, an extra 1,300 on top of that for your canapes if you wanted them. With that, they get 3 canapes per head. It is very expensive, yeah. Okay. Well, did you decide what time you were doing your ceremony? The only reason I say is because if you do decide to have more of a twilight ceremony, so something at 2 or 4, that can eliminate the need for canapes. I think if you were to do a 12 p.m. Ceremony, so like, you know, bang on midday, you're not usually sitting down to eat until about 4:30. That can be a little bit too long between timetables for guests, and that's when you usually need canapes. Whereas, for example, let's say you have your ceremony at 4, usually guests have eaten their breakfast and their lunch before they arrive at the venue. Usually you get all of your first look photos and getting ready photos before then. And then usually we would do twilight images instead. So we would do, with a photographer, they would do your first look and your portrait photos with your groom before the actual ceremony itself, so you get those editorial ones done. Straight after your ceremony, you would have your portrait images, so the ones with your family and your bridesmaids, etc. And then you would sit straight down for your evening meal at 4 p.m. Because it's in the summertime, the sunset's later. So let's say that you've sat down, you've had your ceremony at 4 p.m, you're sitting down for dinner at 6, and then we would get you back outside after your speeches at around 8:30 to have your sunset photography. So you get the beauty of, you know, that golden hour. Okay, let's do that then. So obviously we've got time to change this, but let's do 4 p.m. twilight ceremony. Okay, we're skipping canapes, and we're gonna have sunset portraits, eating at 6. Perfect. Okay, so that's the first little bit out of the way. So we need to go through your budget then. Is there a total price point that you were thinking of for the wedding? So we're already at 8,800 for the venue and the food. It's up to you on whether you want to go very luxury, whether you want to sort of have industry standard pricing, sort of like national average of wedding costs, or whether you're wanting to really scrimp and save. Okay, well, why don't we go based on the average for now? Obviously, doing this for years, I do know the averages of, you know, costings for different things. We can do that, and then you can decide whether or not, based on the total that it comes to, whether you'd like to spend more or less. Yeah? Okay, so let's get started. So we've already had 8,800 for your venue and food. Next, if we're talking photographers really can vary. I would say for a high quality photographer that wouldn't be considered luxury, but is somebody that is definitely, you know, award winning, like top of their industry, but not quite in the luxury bracket yet. We're looking at around £2,000. Okay, so we've got £2,000 for the photographer. Same with videographer if you're wanting a videographer. Yes, okay, so £2,000 videographer. There is a new trend at the moment of having content creators as well. So your videographer captures your entire day and makes a full feature film in 4K quality with cinematic colour grading, and it's like a professional film. And you usually get a film of your ceremony, a film of your speeches, and then you get like an editorial film as well, which includes things like bridal prep, any sort of like photography bits and pieces, like all the editorial bits and behind the scenes that you're taking. That's part of the editorial film, so you get those as part of it. Content creation, however, is filmed on a phone, and it's basically having like somebody film little clips and photos of the day so that your friends and family can put their phones away and relax. So you still get the behind the scenes and you still get all of the content straight away. Within usually 24 to 48 hours you get all of this raw content, so that you can, you know, look back on your day straight away without waiting for the photographer and the videographer to get back to you, which is usually about 8 weeks. The only thing I would say with the content creator is you've got to be quite careful with what you're choosing. I think obviously because you don't need expensive equipment, we have found that some people have thought that they can, you know, just pick up a phone and start getting bookings, and there is still a nuance to it, and there's still like a level of skill. So that's something to be wary of. It depends whether or not you're big on social media. I think if you are very into social media, very into TikTok and wanting to share lots of things of your day, then maybe I would suggest it. If not, I would maybe reconsider, especially if you are choosing to have a videographer. It does sometimes feel like overkill if you have all three. I'll put a question mark by it for now, so I won't include it within your budget, but I will just let you know that the average content creator is around £500, but I will just put a question box, so we won't include it in the total price point. Now, wedding dress, we're going to go through some different silhouette guides in a second, but the average you're sort of talking about is, I would say, £1,500 to £2,000. I would say it's pretty standard. Probably 2,000. If you're getting quite expensive designers, it can go up to £10,000, but I will say 2,000 for now. That's usually what I see most brides spending. Now that doesn't include any alterations or any veils, etc. So I would put an extra 500 away for veils and alterations as well, okay? So 500 for veil and alterations. Okay, so bridesmaids. How many bridesmaids are you having? 5, okay. Have you had the discussion with them about whether or not you're buying their dresses for them or if they're buying them? Okay, I like that. That's a nice way of doing things. So you'll buy the dresses, but they need to buy their shoes and pay for their nails and things. Okay, that's fine. So usually we look at around £100 per bridesmaid's dress. So let's tot that up as 500 for now. Bridesmaids dresses. And how about groomsmen? So you're just having the groom, one best man, and the father of the bride. So 3 suits. I would probably budget yourself about £200 per suit. If you're okay with sort of going high street end, you can get sort of £200 per suit, and that's with all the bells and whistles, with the waistcoat and cravat and everything. If you're looking for more high end, we're looking at sort of £600 per suit. £200 per suit, okay, so that's £600 for the 3 suits. Okay, where are we? Let's talk about the legal side of things. So are you getting married in a church beforehand and then having just the reception at Crewe Hall, or are you having your ceremony at Crewe Hall as well? Okay, so if you're having your ceremony at Crewe Hall, you're going to be needing a registrar. Registrars are usually around £700 to £800. Because you're getting married on a Monday though, I'm pretty certain you'll get a discount, so I would probably budget that at around £500 for the registrar as well. Okay, now we're on to venue decor. So when I mean venue decor, I mean things like chair covers, any uplighting, any faux florals, table centerpieces, things like that, any candles that are going down the aisle, if you're wanting any floral arches, etc., signage. So are you imagining something quite grand looking, or are you wanting it quite stripped back? Stripped back, I would say, at the absolute minimum these days that you could probably find decor that you're not DIYing is probably around 600. If you're having literally everything, like big as possible, we're looking again at 2,000 mark. £2,000 seems to be sort of the sweet spot for any bookings, really. What I'll do is I'm going to put 1,200 just because your guest list is not huge, so we can wangle things like using the venue chairs, not having to hire external chairs, having sashes on just the aisle seats rather than every seat. And if we were to have 10 at a table rather than 8 at a table, we can reduce our table size, which means you need less centerpieces. But obviously this is just a ballpark figure, but I'll just put that for now. Okay. Then we have florals. So are you wanting real flowers or are you wanting faux flowers? So I would say within your £1,200 for your wedding styling, I think that you can get your centerpieces for faux flowers within that price point. So that would just leave your florals for maybe the top table and your registrar table. We can reuse that floral display for both of those. They can be moved and repurposed. Your coordinator or myself will do that for you. So then it just leaves your bouquets and the buttonholes as well. So we're looking at one large bouquet for yourself and 5 medium for your bridesmaids, and then 3 buttonholes, and then 1 top table. Personally, I think that you could get those for about 800. How does that sound? Obviously, it depends on whether, you know, you're getting in season florals or whether you're trying to get something that's out of season. Out of season is going to be more expensive. Exotic florals are going to be more expensive again. So it's, when we talk to the florist, we'll go in with a colour scheme and she will present some ideas to you based on price points. It's really good as well if you get onto Pinterest. I'm sure you've heard of it before, and just have a little look of some ideas. They can come really in handy when it comes to planning a wedding. Just going and having a little look and getting some inspiration. Where are we now? Rings, I would say go cheap and cheerful with your rings. It's up to you. You know, rings can cost thousands of pounds, but you're looking with wedding rings, I mean, they usually are simple gold or simple white gold bands. So I would say £200 a ring, probably a max budget. I wouldn't say you needed to spend much more than that. Okay, so that's 400 there for rings. Menu, photographer, videographer, content creator, wedding dress, veils, bridesmaids dresses, suits, registrar, wedding styling, florals and rings. Let me just have a little look at my planning booklet, just because it's going to give me some ideas and to see if we've missed anything. Where are we? Entertainment. So entertainment, like basics, we're talking about DJs and dance floors. If you're wanting something more sort of bespoke, we can look at wedding singers, violinists, pianists. You could have some more out there entertainment. Like wedding illustrators is a really popular one at the moment. They work really nicely for favours, or caricaturists, magicians, things like that. So I would say I would put yourself in a safety blanket of £3,000, and that would cover any entertainment that you want. And then if you want to redirect that fund to somewhere else later on, if it's something that you don't end up wanting to spend, then that works in your favour. Yeah? Okay. It's probably not going to cost £3,000, but it's just a nice safety blanket. And then finally we're talking about hair and makeup. And this is totally down to you whether or not you have somebody in mind already that you know, or whether you want to go for more of a luxury high-end makeup artist, hairstylist. They do cost more. Are you having your bridesmaids spend money on their own hair and makeup? You are. Okay, so in that case, if you're just paying for yourself for hair and makeup, I would budget yourself around 300. I think that that's a pretty safe number. It could go up to 400, but I would say 300 safe for yourself. Yeah, amazing. Let me just see if I've missed anything off for you. Okay, the only thing I've missed off is little bits and pieces like, you know, a signage, invitations, favours, little bits and pieces like that, which you can DIY. A lot of people do, but you know, we're talking there the sort of cheap last minute bits and pieces that you do plan. So if you're okay with that, we'll add up the total budget in mind at the moment and see if that sounds like something you're looking for, and then we can go from there. Okay, let me just get my calculator up for me then. Okay, so looking at 8,800 plus 2,000 plus 2,000 plus 5. Oh no, we're not doing content creator, are we? Plus 2,000 for the dress, 500 for alterations, 500 for bridesmaids dresses, 600 for suits, 500 for the registrar, 1,200 for the event styling, £800 for florals, £400 for rings, 3,000 for entertainment, and £300 for, what was the £300 for? What did I write the £300 for? Oh, makeup and hair. Makeup and hair. Okay, so currently we're looking at 22,600. How is that sounding? Personally, I would say that that is bang on. The national average for a wedding is around the £25,000 mark. That's usually the national average. So when we're thinking about favours, invitations, you know, little gifts for your vendors, and potentially any additionals, potentially canapes if you wanted, you know, once all said and done, we're probably getting up to 25 when you're completely finished. Obviously that's not including hen do and stag do, but that is something that you would let your bridesmaids or your groomsmen plan themselves, and usually they're the ones that pay for it, not you. So that doesn't really equate to our budget. But how is that sounding? Yeah? Okay, oh, I'm glad. That's actually a really nice price point for 65 guests. Bearing in mind as well, any of these vendors, because it is a Monday, they may do deals. I've known vendors do 10% off deals for Mondays, just because they don't get as many bookings. They're not as you know, booked up on a Monday, so they may offer a discount. So with that discount, you may be looking more at 20 rather than 22. But that's just a potential. But obviously, as myself as your planner, I can sort of haggle these prices for you a little bit without you feeling uncomfortable. Okay, fabulous. Let's get on to the exciting stuff then. So, I have just 2 little things to show you today, and that's all. I'm not going to bombard you with too much. I just wanted to very quickly start talking to you about wedding dress options and ideas. So we're going to be going through your different body shapes and potentially silhouettes that may suit you or that you might be interested in. And then I know that you said you wanted to have quite a trending colour palette, something that was quite on trend for 2026. So I've got 2 different examples of probably what I would say is the most popular trends for 2026 of bridal, and see if you like them. Okay, so here is our little wedding dress guide. You can see the different body shapes up at the top here. Now, have you had your body shape ever assessed before? Okay, so you would be an hourglass. in that case, you can really get away with any different shape of dress that you want. The beauty of an hourglass is because you're so balanced and in proportion, anything is going to accentuate your shape. So we first start off with our more classic shapes. So you have your A-line shape here. Now that is like a very regal shape. It comes out very, very naturally at the waistline. It's got no petticoat underneath it usually. It doesn't have any fullness to it, but it has like a nice drop from the waist. So that really usually accentuates the natural waistline. It makes your waist look very small while still sitting on the hips so that you can see your natural shape. Ball gown is similar to A-line, but at the waistline it comes out. So usually with ball gowns you have petticoats underneath them and they come outwards rather than down. So an A-line, you imagine literally the shape of an A. So this is your waist here and then it comes out like an A, whereas a ball gown is more rounded. Not necessarily rounded like a traditional sort of Cinderella dress, but it just is much fuller. So it has a lot of weight and a lot of size to it on the bottom. Okay. We then have a mermaid type style. So this is like a drop waist. Drop waists are very, very popular, but a drop waist would finish kind of at the hips rather than at the knees, which is where a mermaid ends. So this is a fit and flare, so it fits really, really tight, fitted like a bodycon dress, and then it has a beautiful like a trumpet style at the bottom. Not to be confused with trumpet, which sweeps naturally from the lower hip point, whereas mermaid has like it's fitted around the legs at the bottom here, and it has almost like a separate piece instead. We then have a sheath, which is very beautiful for your straight up and down type of body shapes, so your rectangular shapes. And then we have column, which is similar to sheath, but it does still have that waist line, but it is very, very slim and fitted, unlike A-line, which does sort of come out a little bit. Trumpet, like I said, is similar to mermaid, but it has more of a sweep. It's more of a relaxed fit around the knee area, whereas mermaid is very, very fitted. Then we have empire, which is sort of similar to an A-line and a ball gown. It's like a in between. So empire is usually to the waist, so it is not on the waist, it's usually a little bit lower down. And then finally we have T-length, which is more of your like 1950s fun and flirty type of dress. You can also get short dresses as well that are like mini dresses. They're not as popular, but they're still something to consider. Personally, for yourself, I wouldn't be suggesting a ball gown for the time of year, just because these dresses are very, very heavy, made with very thick, high quality materials and fabrics. A ball gown is going to most likely swamp you and leave you very, very warm. Same with necklines as well. For that time of year, I definitely would stray away from sleeves if you can, unless they are like a sheer balloon sleeve. That could be very, very beautiful and delicate, ethereal looking, but I wouldn't go for a big heavy like silk satin sleeve or a thick tight lace sleeve. I think you'd be too warm. But that's something to think about. I'm going to get you booked in with a few different bridal shops across the next few weeks. We do need to be purchasing the wedding dress within the next 3 months, just to make sure that it's ordered and delivered on time. And then on to the styling. So these are the two different options that I was talking about. The first is black and white. So this is our black tie event. very popular now. So you can see all of this stripped back colour. It's very classic. We have all the white florals in bud vases, lots of gypsophilia, baby's breath, lots of like black decor, save the dates and things. You can see that even the bridesmaids dresses are wearing black but then have the white florals. And bows are very, very popular. Little black accent bows, candelabras, little accents of gold and things. That is definitely, I would say, the most trending at the moment. Secondly, which I feel like should influence you a little bit based on the time of year, definitely, is our pinks and oranges. So our bright, really, really super vivid florals and fuchsias. You can see there are some more pastel shades up here which you can use to complement these colours and maybe tone them down a little bit if they feel a little bit too harsh for you. But they are incredibly popular at the moment. As you can see, we still have this like bud vase candelabra vibe going on. But we have mixed matched bridesmaids dresses, all in the different tones, oranges and pinks. We have all the really bright. This would be the trend for maximalism. So I would say that this is maximalism. This is minimalism. So it depends where on the fence you sit with that kind of theming. But personally, I think with the venue and the time of year, I would personally go for the bright florals. You don't even necessarily need to go for the pinks and oranges. You can just go for pastels. But I definitely think that it's something to think about. What do you think? Amazing. Okay, so I won't take up any more of your time now. What I will do then is I will get you booked in with the wedding dress shops. We're going to try and aim for 4 over the next 4 weeks, okay? And I'm also going to get in contact with a few different vendors and shop around and get their price points and pitch them to you based on what I think is best budget versus quality. Okay? Oh, amazing. Well, it's been so lovely catching up with you. We are going to be having a lot of chats over the next year, so be prepared for that. Best way to contact me is usually via WhatsApp, but you've got my email address as well. You can send me an email anytime. I'm really quick to respond unless I have a wedding on the day. And feel free to text and call anytime if you've got a little question or if you want to send me a photo of an idea, you're more than welcome to. Okay. Oh, amazing. Well, I'm super, super excited about your day. It's going to be really, really beautiful. Alright, my lovely. Well, I'll speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.